Your daylilies are the only thing in that border still standing up in this heat, and you've decided it's because they don't need you. You're half right. They're forgiving. They are not free. What I'm seeing in gardens this last week of July is folks reading that forgiveness as permission, and the plant is telling on them. Fewer buds, shorter scapes, bloom finished by the middle of the month while the clump 3 houses down is still throwing color. That's not the weather doing that. That's the hole you dug and what you did or didn't do the first summer after you dug it. And here's the part that stings. You won't lose the plant. A daylily hardly ever dies outright. You'll just lose the back half of the season, every season, forever, and never know why. 40 years I grew stock for a living, and daylilies were the thing I sold to people who told me straight out they were bad gardeners. They were right about themselves and still went home happy. There's one daylily I'll name before we're done, 16 inches tall, lemon yellow, that'll bloom for you twice in one summer if you give it the little bit it asks for. First, the mistake that starts before you ever get dirt on your hands. First one, choose the plant for toughness, not for the photograph. There are better than 80,000 named daylilies out there. 80,000. That number scares people into thinking there's some perfect one they haven't found yet. And it does the opposite of what it should. The trick isn't collecting. The trick is picking a handful of types bred to be vigorous, well-branched, and hardy, clean through a Missouri winter without a bit of help from you. Do it now, in late summer, while you can still see what's blooming and what quit. Order for September planting. Why? Because a vigorous type carries more buds per scape, and buds are the whole business. A plant that makes 30 buds and gets ignored still beats a delicate one that makes 12 and gets fussed over. Here's the one thing that ruins it. Folks buy from a photograph of a single flower held up in somebody's hand, close, on a white background. That picture tells you nothing about whether the plant increases, whether the scapes stand up, or whether it comes through February. Some of the fancy ones are shy. They sulk, they make one scape. They sit there for 4 years looking like a sick iris. Buy the ones described as vigorous and winter hardy, and buy them boring if you have to. But even the toughest plant I ever grew can be killed by where you put it, and that's the next one. Second, full sun to partial shade in ground that drains. 6 hours of direct sun is what you're after. They'll live in less, they'll just bloom less, and you'll blame the plant. The soil wants to stay moderately moist, not swampy. Those are two different things, and the difference is a dead crown. In Missouri, I plant them in September or in spring. Either one, whenever the ground works easy. There's a house place off the county road south of where I grew up. Burned down long before I was born. By the time I was working, all that was left was a chimney base and some foundation stones with grass burnt brown around them in August. And every July, there'd be a ring of orange daylilies blooming right along the old front walk. Nobody had watered them in 50 years. Nobody had fed them anything, but they were sitting on a raised bank of rubble and stone that shed water like a roof. That's the whole secret sitting there in a burnt yard. Drainage, not attention. The one way people ruin this is planting the crown too deep. That fleshy white part where the leaves meet the roots wants to sit about an inch under the surface, no more. Bury it 4 inches down in heavy clay because it feels safer and it'll rot on you slow over 2 seasons, and you'll never connect the two. Set it shallow, spread the roots out flat, firm it, and walk away. So the site's right. That still won't carry it if you skip the next one, because the first summer is the only summer they actually need you. Third, water it hard while it's establishing, then mulch it, then quit. First season only. From planting through the following summer, give a new clump a real soaking once a week if it hasn't rained. And I mean a slow hose laid at the base for 15 minutes, not a wave of the sprayer. Then put 2 inches of mulch around it, shredded bark, old leaves, whatever you've got, and keep that mulch pulled back off the crown itself. The mulch isn't decoration, it steadies the moisture so the plant isn't swinging between soaked and bone dry while it's putting roots down. Now, here's where I have to correct the thing everybody believes about these plants. Yes, they take neglect better than near anything else you can put in a border. No, neglect has no bottom to it. Run one dry for a couple of hard summers, or let it get crowded up, and the plant won't die. It'll just cut back. Fewer branches on the scape, fewer buds on the branches. It stays alive and stops performing, which is a worse deal than dying because you'll leave it there. The one thing that ruins it is the daily light sprinkle. A little water every evening keeps the roots up in the top inch of soil, hunting. And the top inch is exactly where the ground cooks first in August. Deep and rare. That's how you build a plant that can be forgotten. Once it's built, you get to be choosy, and that's where the one I promised comes in. Fourth, if you want 2 shows out of one plant, buy a rebloomer and start with a yellow one. The yellows have been worked over by breeders longer and harder than about anything else in the genus. And what came out of that is a run of plants that are vigorous, bright, and hardy right through our winters without complaint. The one I'd hand you across the counter is called Big Time Happy. Lemon yellow, ruffled edge, 16 inches tall, so it sits at the front of a border without flopping into the path, and it reblooms. Bloom in early summer, a rest, then it comes back at you later in the season, while the rest of the border is looking tired and dusty. Planted in fall, so it's rooted before it has to work. There's another one I've grown called Molokai that the bees and butterflies go after all day, and that's worth knowing. Low maintenance and good for pollinators aren't opposites. You can have both from the same clump. Here's what ruins a rebloomer. People leave the spent flowers on, seed pods form, and the plant puts its energy into making seed instead of making the second flush. Walk past with your fingers, snap off the swelling pods, break out the whole scape at the base once it's finished. 2 minutes, once a week, and only if you feel like it. But a rebloomer that's crowded won't rebloom no matter what you snap off. Which brings me to the last one and the only real work in this whole video. Fifth, divide the clump when the flowering falls off and not before. Somewhere between 4 and 6 years in, you'll notice it. The foliage looks fine, big, healthy fan of green, and the bloom has gone thin. That's crowding. The fans are packed so tight they're competing with each other for water and room, and the plant answers by cutting bud count. Do it in late summer after bloom, which is right about now, or early spring. Dig the whole clump, lift it out, wash or shake the dirt off so you can see what you're doing. Pull it apart into pieces with 3 or 4 fans each. Replant at that same shallow depth, 18 to 24 inches apart, and water them in like they're new, because they are. The one way people ruin this is chopping the clump into single fans to get more plants, then putting them right back in the same tired hole at the same spacing. You end up with a dozen weak pieces that take 3 years to look like anything, packed in as tight as what you just dug up. Fewer, bigger divisions, more room between them. My father used to say the plant is never wrong, the plan is, and a crowded daylily is the plainest proof of that I know. If you take one thing from all this, take the second one. Sun and drainage, crown an inch deep. Get that right in September, and the plant will carry itself for 20 years while you're off doing something else. Everything after it is just tidying. Tell me down in the comments what's dying in your garden right now, and tell me what I left out, because somebody always knows something I don't. A daylily will forgive you almost anything except the day you planted it.